Okay, buddy. So I spend a lot of my free time with football in the history books and the Pro
Hmm.
Football Reference and Stathead. And I obviously
Sure.
you've known by my tweets. I dive into that stuff. And so a couple months ago, I was just thinking randomly. I don't even remember how the conversation came up, but just like franchise leaders in certain offensive categories,
I was
passing.
asking you about the career receiving
Yeah,
leader for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I
that's what it
I
was.
actually remember
That's
exactly.
exactly what it was.
Yep.
Thank you for that. So I ever since then, I mentioned to you at the time, I'm like, oh, someday we should just like you should just quiz me. And I'll just see which franchise leaders of which, of those three passing, rushing, and receiving, which ones I know, which ones I can think of. And so the little game that I've devised for us today is that you have a couple teams that you've pulled up that I obviously don't know and haven't looked up or whatever.
You don't
And
know.
I don't. And
You
you're
have no
gonna
idea.
give me so the team and the stat. You're going to say,
Yep.
and I'm going to give you two names for each one of those
Okay.
answers. One is going to be, if I can, a my recent candidate for the stat. So a lot of these stats are going to have recent guys that hold it because
Yep.
offenses these days and all that stuff. And then I'm going to give you what I think is probably the best answer, like pre 2010, like
Sure.
just an older guy that would probably be up there. And then you just tell me if I, how close I
Sure.
was, if I knew him, any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
If,
And
if any of them
we'll just
get
do
there.
that a couple times because I like to quiz myself. So why don't
Okay.
you who you got lined up for?
Well, I pulled up four, and the division that I went to first to try and stump you was the NFC South,
Oh
because as
no,
we know,
great start.
this is actually the easiest one of the four, I think. So
Okay.
we're going to start with Carolina Panthers career rushing leaders. Now, this one's going to be a little bit easier for you because you're going to give me an old guy and a new guy. This franchise has only been around since 1995, so we're talking
Yes.
31 seasons.
Yeah.
But you've got some candidates here.
Some great
Carolina
candidates.
Panthers rushing leaders.
So the first person that comes to mind is the guy playing the Carolina Panthers tonight is Christian McCaffrey. I
Uh-huh.
don't believe that he was at the top. I don't think he ran long enough to be at the top of their leaderboard, but I know he's going to be in the conversation. Um, an older guy would have been like like Jonathan Stewart was the guy that when I remember growing up from like the mid 2000s, he was their lead back for I think over a decade. So longevity and older, I'm going to go Jonathan Stewart, and then explosiveness and more recent, I'm going to go CMC.
Those are both great guesses. Christian McCaffrey is fourth all
Huh.
time with 3,980 rushing yards. Chuba Hubbard, by the way, is fifth. So this is, a franchise that Chuba's
Yeah.
been with the team since
Yeah.
2021,
Where's Cam?
3,509. Cam is third,
Okay.
5,036 rushing
That
yards.
makes sense.
So
He
then in
he was
second place, right behind Jonathan Stewart, who you guessed, D'Angelo Williams,
sure.
6,846. And
Sure.
Jonathan Stewart just ahead of him. They had that two-headed monster thing going for a long time.
Yes.
7,318. So Jonathan Stewart,
Okay.
the all-time Carolina Panthers rushing leader. You did great there.
Bit of a surprise
So
though. Jonathan Stewart, not a name that you think of immediately
yeah,
for a
no,
franchise
it's not.
rusher.
It's not.
But Carolina's a
Let's.
weird franchise, like you said. That
It
was a
is a
good
weird
pick.
franchise. Let's go to a franchise that is it's been around for a while, 58 years, the Cincinnati
Oh.
Bengals. And we're going
Oh.
to do the Cincinnati Bengals passing leaders, career passing yards for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay. So I mean, Burrow has not been around or healthy enough I'm not even going to name him as my recent candidate. I'm going to name Andy Dalton as the recent candidate
Okay.
because I
All
know
right.
that he put in work
He
many,
put
many
in some time.
years, put in,
He
and then
he punched that clock.
he did. And then my two older candidates, I'm torn between two of them. I'll tell you who I'm thinking between, which is Boomer Esiason and Ken Anderson.
Uh-huh.
Those are the guys, the only guys I ever really remember being like long time historic Cincinnati Bengals passers. Boomer has the TV career. I feel like he probably would have finished with more passing yards than Ken Anderson. So my final answers are going to be Andy Dalton and Boomer Esiason.
It's Andy Dalton in second place,
In second,
3,100 or
good for
31,594
Andy. Good for the Red Rifle.
passing yards.
How,
And
31,000?
yes, is second place all
That's
time.
pretty good.
I know. I know it's not bad. It's not bad.
Nothing to sniff
And
at.
that's 2011 to 2019. I mean, he was,
Yeah,
that's not
he was around.
even Ken Anderson is the all-time passing leader for the Cincinnati
Dang,
Bengals.
I missed it.
32,838 yards. That was in 15 seasons. So Andy
Yeah.
got within a
Okay.
thousand yards in
In
like
8 years,
virtually
half the
half the
time.
time.
Yeah.
Boomer Esiason is in third with 27,149. So you were very
Okay.
close there.
So, but Ken still gets him by
You
about
got the
a good
three. You got the
four or
three
five
guys. You
thousand.
got the three guys at the top of the list. So that
Sure.
was good.
Sure.
Okay. I'm. These are going to get progressively more
I
difficult.
hope so.
The Arizona Cardinals
No. Okay.
career rushing leaders. Now you were thinking receiving leaders, easy. Larry
Oh
Fitzgerald,
no, dude.
game set match. The Arizona Cardinals career rushing leaders. I
Okay.
would be stunned if you name. You can give me a recent one, and
Well, James Conner's the only recent one that's even going to be on the map,
he
I would
is
imagine.
fourth all time in rushing
Fourth? I
yards
can't
for
do
the
any
Arizona
higher than him.
Cardinals with 3,763.
Oh no,
This
and
is a
he's only been there
franchise,
for like three
Taylor.
years.
This is a franchise that is 106 seasons old.
Yes,
It's been
they're
around since
Arizona.
1920.
Actually, someday we should deep dive the Arizona
Yes,
Cardinals.
we
They have
should.
the
It's
most
insane.
berserk.
It's insane.
I mean, I don't they have, I believe they've had 55 head coaches or something.
Uh,
They're whatever the number is, it's
they have played
staggering.
in 17 playoff games in
Oh, over a hundred.
106
That's
seasons,
impossible. They're
and they've been to
impossible.
the Super Bowl once and they lost.
Okay, wait a minute.
So,
Wait a minute.
all right.
So
So
I don't think
you can't name anybody.
so the first name that came to my mind was Emmett Smith, who of course only spent 1 year at the end of his career as an Arizona Cardinal after he was a Dallas Cowboy. So obviously it's not Emmett, but that shows you how desperate I am.
Emmett
I
Smith is 41st, and he was there for 2 years.
I mean
Rushed for
I can't
1,100 yards.
imagine I can't imagine a person running the ball as an Arizona Cardinal. I'm gonna white flag it. I don't know.
Sure. I knew that when I picked this one that
Yes,
this one
this was
would
a great
be
call.
a true
Great
test for
call.
you. The career rushing leader for the Arizona Cardinals is Otis Anderson, not Otis, but
Oh,
two
the double
T's.
T. I've seen his name
Otis
before. I couldn't have told
Otis
you he was a
Anderson
Cardinal.
with 7,999
Was
yards
he like the
from
80s?
1979 to
Mm-hmm.
1986. So
Mm-hmm. How
99
how how
games
many did he
played,
have? Yards?
7,999. He
So he
couldn't
didn't
get
even have
one more yard.
8,000
Yeah,
yards.
he
Yeah,
couldn't get one.
right.
We need to bring
What a
Otis Anderson
loser.
out
Yeah,
so he
a
could get one
retirement.
more yard. That would
Yes.
also put him at exactly 100 games played, exactly 8,000 yards.
No way. He had
Poor,
99
poor,
games played at
99 games
7,000.
played. Yep.
That's terrible.
In second place, Stump Mitchell,
No,
who
you're making that up.
played by the way from 1981 to 1989. So Otis Anderson and Stump Mitchell, the two rushing leaders for this franchise, overlapped by 5 years.
What?
So like, yeah, exactly. This is I'm telling you,
What?
as soon as we were doing this little
Yes,
pre-show
you
and you
saw them
said
and
quiz
you
me on this,
cackled.
and
Yeah,
the second I pulled
you
up the
did.
Cardinals rushing leader
You
page, I
did.
was like, this is insane. This has to
No
make it to the show.
chance. Stump
Uh,
who?
Stump
Stump
Mitchell,
Mitchell?
4,649 yards. So he's in second, by the way,
Who's third?
4,600 yards.
Like One Eye Willie? Like,
Jim Otis, who's actually listed on
no,
here as a fullback, who played from
no.
1973 to 1978,
A 5 year
3,863
fullback
yards.
is third all time rushing
That's
for the
for
Arizona
the Arizona
Cardinals.
Cardinals. Like you said, this is a franchise that we could do a deep dive on just
They're
how
in.
insanely. Mm,
Yes.
Do you
Okay.
know? This
This
is
is
not scripted,
great.
but do you know who the all-time passing leader for the Arizona Cardinals is?
None of this is scripted, by the way.
No,
Just
no,
so
of course
before
not.
you,
Sure, no, of course not.
yeah, I do. I think
Yep. Do
it's
you?
I think it's
He
Jim
played.
Hart.
Ah, you nailed it.
Was
Jim
he?
Hart.
Yeah,
Nicely done.
in
Okay.
in the 70s, right?
Yep.
Like, I
Yep.
mean, okay, I've
Yeah.
seen him a lot.
Sure. Jim Hart.
I but I mean, I don't know. Carson Palmer is probably second if I were to name like a.
Probably. I already navigated away from
Okay,
that
okay,
page
okay,
though
okay.
because
Do you have a
we're
fourth team
gonna
for me?
do. I do. I have one
Okay,
more.
okay.
This was another team that as soon as I saw the name on Pro Football Reference, I was like, I know this
Oh,
franchise has some berserk career leader stats.
great.
We're taking a trip to the Windy City, the Chicago Bears.
Uh-oh, that's gonna
Another
be
team
rough.
with 106 seasons in the books.
Yeah,
And I could give you passing leaders, but I feel
Jay
like you would have
Cutler.
gotten that. Jay Cutler is it. Sid
Absolutely.
Luckman in second place, of course. The
Sure.
rushing leader is
Walter
obvious for
Payton,
the
of
Bears. So
course.
yeah, exactly. So you don't he has double
I was
Matt
ready for
Forte
both of
in
those.
second place. So let's do
Don't
the
give me the
receiving.
receivers.
Oh yeah.
Don't give. Okay, 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 okay,
Chicago
okay.
Bears receiving leaders.
Okay. So the only one recently that I think would have put in enough time would have probably been Alshon Jeffrey, which was kind of our range of,
Yep.
fantasy football time. And I mean, I'm sure he might not be one, but I bet he's probably high. And then, I mean, if it's historic, they had Ditka. I don't even know if he was around long enough to make as big of an impact like on leaderboards, but he was of course a prolific tight end in his day. Mike Ditka. Nobody comes to mind where I'm like, oh, it's like the other two. I knew immediately Jay Cutler
Hmm.
and Walter Payton. Those are
Sure.
those are
Yeah.
obvious answers. Nobody
Right.
comes to mind here for obvious. So I I don't feel like Alshon Jeffrey's the correct game. The other reason that I don't think it's Jeffrey is because I think if you had seen Alshon Jeffrey, you wouldn't have been like, oh, I'm going to pick the Bears because like
Sure. Yeah.
I knew that name. I would have,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I can't.
That's
I
good
mean,
logic.
I don't know any of like Sid Luckman's receivers or any of the Jim McMahon '80s receivers. Like that was all
No, how
defense
could
and
you?
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Trubisky was probably throwing it around to Alshon. They might have overlapped a year or so. I'm going to go with Alshon Jeffrey and Mike Ditka, but I don't think you're
Okay.
right.
Well, you know what? They're both in the top five. So
Okay.
in that sense, you
Yeah,
did very
that's
well for
fine.
yourself. Alshon Jeffrey, third with
Third. Oh,
4,549 receiving yards.
4,000. What is
Yeah.
wrong with these
it's,
teams? Oh,
it's
that's
crazy.
awful.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. This is a franchise though that has never had a 4,000 yard passer in
Yes.
106 years. So,
Not 5,000,
it
4,000.
it it is
Is
crazy.
Caleb going to do that this year? Probably.
I
Seems
don't
like.
know. Yeah, he might. Ditka's fifth, with
Ah,
4,503 receiving yards. And Ditka, by the way, I think he had the rookie record for he had 1,000 yards as a rookie, and then
yeah,
in the next 11 years, he only got he did play a little bit with Dallas and Philly too.
sure.
But in any case,
Who's
he had
number
a
one?
thousand years or 1,000 yards for the Bears in his first season,
It's
and
going to be
then
somebody I've probably
yeah,
literally never heard of. Just my
it's
guess.
Johnny Morris. Uh,
Johnny Morris. Oh,
his
sure. The guy I've
his
never heard of.
position is listed as FL, which I think is flanker left,
No.
and
Was he in the 40s?
he has 5,059 receiving yards from 1958 to 1967, and Harlan
58.
Hill is the guy in second place ahead of Alshon Jeffrey with
Hank Hill's dad.
4,616. His position is listed as LE. I'm actually not sure what that is.
He was a
But
left end.
when your franchise receiving leaders start with position
Yeah.
FL and LE,
Yeah.
that's bad news. That's bad news. Welcome in to It's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom. I'm Austin. Find me on X at Real Bird Lawyer, Bird Law Expert on Blue Sky. Here with me, as always, whenever we're doing a podcast, is my co-host Taylor at Taylor_Win on X, IASIC on Blue Sky. What's going on, bud?
I got to be honest. I think of the 32 franchises of the three categories, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah, I
96
picked some tough
total
ones.
winners or
Yeah.
96 total. I probably get 85 of the 96 is kind of
Yep.
my gut feeling.
I
And
mean,
you picked, yeah, I
wanted
did.
the
I did. I
challenge.
wanted it. I mean, that was great. I'm really glad because I didn't know, many of those answers,
And I
but
don't know a lot of the names, but I knew which teams immediately.
you
And
knew
then
who
I
I
was
wouldn't
like,
know.
there's no chance he's gonna know these.
No,
So
Otis Anderson. I mean, that was great. But
yeah.
I'm doing good. I'm doing fine. It's Thanksgiving week. We're playing one of my, hated teams this week with the boys. So
Sure.
I'm ready to
Thursdays are for the boys.
Thursdays are not for the boys. No days for the boys. So ready to talk ball.
Yeah, on that note, let's just sort of get this out of the way. Our output has been a little bit more sporadic lately. And the thing is, when the podcast is called It's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom, there's only so much gloom and despair that this show can endure before it just ceases to exist, right? Before it
Correct.
just pops out of existence. So we didn't podcast after the Bills loss. We didn't podcast after the Broncos loss. And if the Chiefs lose another game, there's a good chance we'll never podcast again. So we're in full on playoff mode right now. And the Chiefs did just beat the Colts 23-20. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about news. We'll talk about what is happening. We'll preview this Chiefs at Cowboys game. But, you know, it's one thing to rebrand the show. We've had some dark stretches before, but we've never been in win or go home mode in November before.
Not
So
even close. We've literally
not even
never been in
close.
win or go home mode in December. I mean,
Which
this
we
is
which we have talked about the last time we podcasted. And it's great that everybody's sort of coming around to what the situation is with this team. It's not great because it's a bad situation, but I mean, like, at least people are sort of acknowledging the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation this week, though, is that the Chiefs did win. They're at 6-5. They improved their playoff chances from 50% to 66 or so percent, depending on where you look, and avoided their playoff chances cratering into the 30 something percent range.
that
So
would have been dark.
it's sunny this week, and we'll see how long it remains so. Let's hit the news. Not a whole lot. We're recording this on a Monday, so we wanted to get to you quickly after the Chiefs' victory yesterday on Sunday over the Colts, and also get to you quickly before the Chiefs' next game on Thursday, on Thanksgiving Day, Turkey Day. That's going to be a lot of fun, hopefully. So we don't have an injury report, but we do have an estimated practice report for the Chiefs and the Cowboys. Noah Gray and Trey Smith are the two that did not practice. Trey Smith has both high and low ankle sprains. It sounds like he is going to miss. He certainly is not going to play on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like he may miss more time even than that. Noah Gray has a concussion, a scary injury for him, obviously, after a huge catch yesterday in the game. But he leaves. He's in the concussion protocol. I have never heard of anybody clearing concussion protocol on a short week to play in a Thursday game or even a Saturday game.
No
So
chance.
he's not going to play. Noah Gray, Trey Smith are both going to be out. Leo Chenal, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy were all limited with knee, hamstring, and ankle injuries, respectively. Rashee came out of that game with the hamstring. Xavier Worthy came out of that game with the ankle. They're both limited. We obviously hope that both will be able to go. And Leo Chenal with the knee injury, we'll keep an eye on that, obviously, but he's been a big player for the Chiefs too. So you hope that those guys are all out there. But we'll see who suits up on Thursday.
Yeah, it's you wish you had a little bit more time between the games than a couple days. Uh, Worthy's been on the injury report all year, and I'm sure he'll try and play through it, but he clearly is banged up. Boy, that Rashee hamstring injury, we'll talk a little bit about it when we talk about the later stages of that game, but he powered
Yeah.
through it. He gutted through it. He was still out there making plays and then just going down immediately. And um, I think he'll be able to go. We'll see how limited he is.
Let's not forget that Dallas is his hometown, and
Right?
he's got a score to settle out there. With
Jesus.
the entire city of Dallas after it cost him 6 games, and who knows how much
Sure.
money from his future contract, plus
Yeah,
30 days in jail. So
that
he's
damn city.
probably he's probably got something to prove out there. Actually, I had a few people speculate. We were talking about this injury yesterday on Twitter, and a few people speculating that it maybe looked more like cramping, but he is listed on the injury report as a hamstring. I mean, like, I would
It
agree
was a hammy
with
for
those
sure.
people that pointed out that, like, this looked consistent with, he's not hydrated or whatever, but he is on the injury report. So we'll see if he is able to go.
Well, and if you get a hamstring injury during the game, it probably feels, I don't know this, but it probably feels pretty similar to cramping in a
Sure.
lot of
Yeah.
aspects. Like when he went down late and he reached for his toe and bent it back towards him, that was like, I mean, he was stretching the hammy back out. That was
Right.
for sure
Right.
like a hammy maneuver. But you're right. It's he's on there with a hamstring injury. It must be a hamstring.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for the
That's
news.
that's it.
No, let's talk about.
What is happening?
So the AFC playoff picture, I know you've prepared some remarks for this, and I'll let you get to those. The Chiefs are currently 10th in the AFC in the playoff picture. They actually lost ground despite winning their game, which is just kind of
Seems
how
impossible.
2025 has gone.
Mhm.
So every time we've done a what is happening, the Chiefs have been on the outside of the playoff picture. They were in the playoffs, I think, for 1 week this year. Maybe they snuck in as the seventh seed 1 week. I don't remember which week it was. Maybe we were 3-3. But in any case, they're not in there now. They're
Mhm.
10th. There's 9 teams ahead of them. And so we thought this would be a good opportunity for us to sort of talk about the path ahead for the Chiefs and for those other 9 teams, 2 of which at least they have to pass in order to get into this playoff
Yeah,
hunt.
it's 10 teams fighting for 7 spots. I think we can all pretty well write off, barring a miracle, the 4-7 Miami Dolphins. They're the only ones that have more than 3 wins that we're not considering for the playoff picture. They went out and go 10-7 and maybe could sneak in as a 7 seed, but they're not worth our time right now. So
Yeah, they're not going to win out. So
they're not. They're certainly not going to win out. They have a better chance of losing out than winning out. The other 9 teams besides the Chiefs in order in the AFC standings are currently the 10-2 New England Patriots, the 9-2 Denver Broncos, the 8-3 Indianapolis Colts, the 6-5 4-seed Baltimore Ravens, who are
yes.
now leading the North, and that's why the Chiefs dropped a spot. And then the wild card picture is currently the 7-4 Chargers, 7-4 Jags, 7th seed 7-4 Buffalo Bills, and then the 2 teams with the Chiefs that are fighting to get in, the 6-5 Houston Texans, the 6-5 Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's the contenders. And now what I've done is I just wanted to break down how the year has gone for these AFC contenders, the
Sure.
Chiefs and these 9 others. And the first thing I wanted to look at was how have these 9 teams done against any team that is not the Chiefs or the top 10 teams in the AFC, which means how have they done against either the bottom 6 in the AFC or the NFC, aka games that had no negative impact if the other team won the game for the Chiefs. So this is kind of our measure of like how lucky the Chiefs have gone on these other games. And out of the 66 games that have been played between AFC contenders, non-Chiefs AFC contenders, and everyone else, those teams have gone 48-18, a 727 winning percentage, which, yes, it's infuriating. That would be a 12-5 season if you went 727 for the whole year, and just shows that, there really haven't been a ton of breaks that the Chiefs have gotten. I did want to highlight a couple teams that have been particularly helpful or unhelpful in this regard. The Los Angeles Rams are our biggest pals right now. They have gone 4-0 against AFC contenders. They beat the Texans, Colts, Ravens, and Jags. So we love the Rams. We love Matt Stafford.
We do love the Rams.
We love the Rams. They're dope. And then their NFC West compatriots, the Seattle Seahawks, have gone 3-0 against the Steelers, Jags, and Texans.
Love the Seahawks.
So those 2 teams are responsible for 7 of the 18 losses that out of 66 games that these other teams have played. And then the 2 teams that are the biggest losers are the New York Jets, who you would imagine.
Of course.
They have gone 0-5 against the Steelers, Bills, Broncos, Patriots, and Ravens. And then the freaking Tennessee Titans, dude, who I know they had the number 1 pick last year, and I know
we do get to play them.
And we do get to play them, but watch that be the one game that they've won. But they're 0-7 against the Broncos, Patriots, Chargers, twice against the Colts, and twice against the Texans. So
that's crazy.
That's the breakdown first of how the season has gone, just contenders versus everyone else. Yeah.
They still have 2 games against the Jags.
They do still have 2 games against the
Jags.
Jaguars.
Still get 2 free wins against the Titans.
It's ridiculous. So then, you look at the Chiefs in that same group, which is Chiefs against non-AFC contenders. They've gone 4-1 in those games. They beat the Lions, Raiders, Giants, and Commanders. They lost to the Eagles. That's their group of games against non-AFC contenders. And then there have been 14 games between AFC contenders, non-Chiefs AFC contenders. So obviously that's a wash. They've all beaten each other. It doesn't really matter who beats who, but there have been 14 of those. And then the Chiefs have played 6 AFC contenders, sadly, have gone 2-4. They
not good.
Lost to the Chargers, Jags, Bills, and Broncos, beat the Ravens, and recently the Colts. So now we look ahead. That's what's happened so far in the year. The Chiefs, first and foremost, we talked about this being a win or go home scenario. I mentioned to you before the pod that if we're in a 10-game single elimination tournament, if this was win or go home from right now, there would have to be 1,024 participants in a 10-game or 10-round elimination tournament.
Sure. So if it was like
NCAA
an NCAA tournament, sure, with a 1-game,
if you have to win 10 games
to
yes, then it would be a 1,024 team tournament. And that just shows you the odds right now to win all 10 of those games. It's not impossible, but it's certainly pretty tough. The Chiefs have a
And that's just to get to the playoffs, by the way.
no, that's 10.
Oh,
We have
that's
six.
through to the Super
We
Bowl.
have
Okay.
six regular season games, and then assuming it would be a
Sure.
wild card, then
Yep. Right. Okay, I got you.
four play. It could be 9, so it could
Okay.
be only
Yeah. Okay.
500 teams
Sure.
instead of 1,024. But
Sure.
the Chiefs have a really interesting split in their their 6 remaining games because their 3 away games are all against non-AFC contenders. So they go at Dallas this week. Their last 2 away games are at the Titans and at the Raiders. That's it for the road. And then their 3 home games are all against AFC contenders in the Texans, Chargers, and Broncos. So, it's there's opportunity there. Obviously, the Chiefs going 6-0 would go a long way towards everything else, nothing else mattering. I mean, if they go 6-0 from here on out and they finish 12-5, they're not missing the playoffs at 12-5, but they've obviously got to do it. What I wanted to talk about, the main attraction here, is the breakdown of the other games by these other AFC contenders. And there are 26 games where the Chiefs fans can have a clear rooting interest for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Where it doesn't matter what else is going on in the playoffs. It's contenders versus the rest of the field. So just a couple, I'm not going to go through all 26 games, but like, for example, the Bills have 4 games, Bengals, Browns, Jets, but then Eagles. So I hate rooting for the Eagles, and I probably won't root for them, but some cases there where some help can be had. Although I don't even know if Chiefs fans would consider the Bills right now to be part of the thick of the race with the Chiefs.
They have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs, and
they have the tiebreaker,
so
and they're game and a half basically up. But you've got Broncos have 3 games remaining against non-AFC contenders. That's the Commanders and Raiders, but then also the Packers. And so that December 14th game against the Packers, that would be a huge lift for the Chiefs, with no downside for the Packers winning that game, of course, at all. Chargers, Raiders, Chargers have the Raiders, Cowboys, and Eagles. So that's Cowboys and Eagles, certainly 2 games the Chargers could lose. And that's it for the Chargers against non-contenders. So then the other 3 games are all against contenders. And the last,
by the way, are pretty much the same as the Chiefs, except for instead of playing the Titans, they play the Eagles, because we already played the Eagles and they already played the Titans.
Instead of playing the Titans, they play the Eagles. That's a tough
it's a big difference. It's a big difference. I mean that and
but yes, Cowboys and Raiders are the other 2.
Their home away is also different. They have to go to Denver, whereas we get them at home. They have to go to the Chiefs, whereas we get them at home. So
Yep.
Their schedule is a little bit, and they had a bye this week while we were playing the Colts, which was the big difference in our remaining schedule, but we took care of business. So, just in terms of looking at teams that are vulnerable, the Chargers are one, because they do have, the injuries, obviously, for the Chargers always. And they have in there, the resurgent Cowboys front. The Eagles pass rush obviously is good. The Cowboys and the Texans. You have 4 teams there that, not the Cowboys, but like the Eagles, Texans, and Broncos are 3 teams that they could lose just because they don't have any tackles.
You said not the Cowboys. We don't really know yet what this Quinnen Williams-led Cowboys defense. We will. But there's a chance that that's a pretty tough matchup defensively for the Chargers as well. So the marquee matchups between AFC contenders, which I find to be fascinating, because on most of these games, it's going to depend on what the standings look like that day for me to kind of really pick a rooting interest. But I'll go in order of when the game, or who the home teams are. So the Ravens have 2 home games against the Steelers and Patriots, a matchup that right now, the Ravens are so weird and interesting. They were 1-5. They were
don't look that good, but
they don't look that good.
They're definitely better than the Steelers.
They're definitely better than the Steelers. Everybody's better than the Steelers. And so, you're probably rooting for the Steelers in that game. And then the Patriots, they've kind of gotten so far out ahead that I think I'm just going to pull for them for the 1 seed.
Patriots. Yeah.
There's no real reason to hope that the Patriots fall back to the pack, because the worst case scenario there is just the Bills have an easier path because they win the AFC West.
You have a second-year quarterback who, granted, has played really well.
Yeah.
But if you're giving me the choice between, I don't want to give the Broncos their flowers, but if you're giving me the choice between going to Foxborough or going to Denver,
I agree.
I'd much rather go to Foxborough.
I agree. for sure.
Aside from the fact that the Patriots have an actual quarterback and might be a tougher matchup, but like
Sure.
Denver is a hard place to play. It is
Yes.
not just because the fans
Physically.
who are, yeah, physically, it's difficult.
Yes.
So,
Yes. I agree with that. The Broncos have 2 home games against the Jags and Chargers as part of their end of
mm,
their schedule. So,
do we want to root for the
um,
Broncos? I mean,
well, I no, because I still think the path to the West is open.
yeah,
So I still think that if the Jags and the Chargers win those games, we could find a way for that to be helpful for the Chiefs, regardless of if we need those teams to lose in the wild card race. I still feel that we will be, especially, the Broncos game's week 18, or the Chargers game is week 18.
yeah,
So we're going to know a
right,
lot going into that game of who we
right,
want to win that
right.
game. But the Jags game is coming up. It's week 16, December 21st. So could be, if by that time the Jags have kind of played themselves out of it, then we'll be pulling hard for them. We'll see how it goes. The Texans only have one home game against an AFC contender. That is the Indianapolis Colts, who they also will go on the road to play. So the Colts and Texans have not played once. They get a
I
split games
I
with each
want to
other.
talk about the Colts for a second
Yeah, please do.
because this is a team that until we beat them and handed them their third loss this week, I mean, I would have said 3 weeks ago that this is the team that was going to get the number
Get the
one
one seed.
seed.
I agree.
And I
How they
mean,
were
a
playing.
team that was incredibly dominant earlier in the year. And now, if you look at the Colts, you've
Mhm.
got the 6-5 Texans who are 2 games back. But as you just mentioned, they play twice. So
Mhm.
the Texans can erase the entire lead. And the Texans team started 1-4, and the Colts
Yeah,
started 4-1. So
and the
like
Texans have won 3 in a row without CJ
Texans
Stroud.
have won three
They're
in a row
on. They're
without
on a
CJ
roll.
Stroud. They're on a roll.
They just beat the
So
shit out of the
they
Bills.
can erase the Colts division lead just in the head-to-head matchups that are remaining. And the other 4 games that the Colts still have to play besides the 2 games against the Texans
Hmm.
at Jacksonville,
Hmm.
which even when they're good, the Colts, famously
Yeah,
Carson
can't win
Wentz
there.
went to Jacksonville a couple years ago with the playoffs on the line and lost to a
Yeah,
bad Jags team.
they can't
They
win
have to
there.
go. They have to play the Jags twice. So once in Jacksonville in 2 weeks, and then at home on
Hmm.
December 28th. They have at Seattle against a really good
Very tough.
Seahawks team.
And
And then they have the 49ers at home. The Niners are a team that's fighting for playoff contention. Obviously, they're very injured, but like they're a pretty game team. That's a
sure,
really hard schedule for the Colts. And
it's 6 contenders.
8-2 and now is the only contender that the Chiefs have actually beaten.
Yeah,
You know, this actually becomes a fairly viable path for the Chiefs to get in over the Colts if the Texans or Jags can unseat them from first place in the AFC South and put them in a vulnerable wildcard position where the Chiefs head-to-head tiebreaker actually makes a difference.
completely agreed. The Colts are certainly a team that you're looking at if you're trying to chase a gazelle down. If you're trying to chase one of these wild card teams down, uh, they're one to do it. They're primed to. Now, on the other hand, what's great about the Colts is if now, let's say instead of that, if they rip off 4 wins against those wins are going
Well,
to be against
sure.
AFC contenders. So
Right.
that's,
Right.
they're either going to knock the Texans and Jags down a peg for us to catch, or they're going to knock themselves down. But either
Yep.
way,
Yep.
I mean, and even if they split those games, and let's say they go 3-3 down the stretch, they're going to help us either way. They're going to be catchable, and they're
I
going to
mean,
hurt other
if they go
teams.
3-3 down the stretch,
They
11 and
might
6,
miss.
the Chiefs can catch them.
Yes,
I mean,
right, and 11-6 these days for this particular season of wild card rounds, wild card standings. 11-6 might be pretty dicey for making it in. So, that you've also got the Patriots only have one home game against a contender, and that's the Bills.
they've only played like one home game against a
Uh,
contender all year.
Right. The Patriots' schedule has been cake, and they've taken care of business, obviously, with the win against the Bills. And I mean, they look like the team that right now should be sitting pretty for the 1 seed. I'd be really surprised just with a free bet right now if you would pick any other AFC team for the 1 seed besides the Patriots. But it's a different Patriots team that's the 1 seed. It's not the old Brady Pats. Like, these guys are beatable for sure. And then the Steelers, who, while I have them in this contender talk,
Yeah, come on.
they're very, very vulnerable and I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they have home games against the Bills and Ravens. So they have an opportunity to help us out. I mean, they have 2 games left against the Ravens.
Don't you
And
think
then
though that that's kind of I mean, to me, and this has been the case since the Ravens were 1-4 or 1-5, whatever they started, one and
one and
five.
five.
uh, don't you feel like it's the AFC North winner is getting in, but there's no other teams from the AFC North getting in, and that's probably
Certainly.
going to be it's probably going to be the Ravens.
Baltimore.
It
Yeah.
feels like
Yep.
there's almost no way that one of those teams is getting in as a wild card. So one of those teams is missing the playoffs. It's obvious which one of those teams is better.
Yes.
It's the team with Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
So
I mean, the Ravens,
that being said, the Steelers are only one game over 500. They've never been below 500 with
yep.
Tomlin as a coach.
Yep.
And they could be, I mean, that team could beat the Bills. And
Yes.
that could help us.
Certainly.
Like, would I bet on it? No. But could it happen? Sure. They just lost to the Texans. The Steelers are one of those teams that will go out and have weird games where they beat teams that are clearly better than they are. So I don't know.
Right. And I mean, like you said, they're well coached. They have a veteran quarterback. He's looked bad recently, but like if Aaron Rodgers went out there and had a veteran, I mean, a vintage Aaron Rodgers game, an actual one, not a Warren Sharp vintage Aaron Rodgers game, that would be one that, wouldn't shock the world to see. So that's kind of the remaining games. There's a lot of it, as I said, will depend on what the snapshot is at that time. Because, like when I was watching Bills Texans, this was a perfect example of it. And like the Chiefs fans are so just used to, for obvious reasons, cheering for the Bills. I mean, against the Bills,
Yeah,
and
against
they're
the Bills,
cheering,
sure.
and they were watching that game, and a lot of people were, look, come on Texans, let's beat them. And I'm kind of looking at the race, going like, guys, I don't know. I
Yeah,
I, I don't
yeah,
want the Texans to
yeah.
now be another contender. And if
And
the
they are.
Bills had won that game, then the
Right.
Chiefs would be, obviously over the Texans in the standings, and then it just becomes this it, it's a tight squeeze to get into these seven teams. There are seven spots. There are 10 teams. Three of them aren't going to make it, but three of them are going to have a shot to make it towards the end of the year. And I mean, we have to analyze this as a wild card team right now, even though we're not used to doing so, and even though it sucks. But like, this is the reality of the situation. This is what these other poverty teams go through if they're lucky once every couple years,
I
is
mean,
trying to fight for a playoff spot. And
we just spent more time talking about the schedule than we
than we
probably
ever
have
have
in
combined.
in certainly in any single conversation, but
Yes.
probably in any two conversations combined.
Yep.
It's not a fun spot to be in, but
No.
at the same time, like there are paths here, and it's going to start with like you have to beat the teams that are ahead of you. So that
Yes.
obviously means the Texans, it means the Chargers, it means the Broncos. You have to take care of business over the teams that are ahead of you in the standings. And at some point, like not all these teams are going to finish 13-4,
No.
presumably.
Yeah. Right.
At some point, they will have to lose more games. Now, they haven't virtually the entire year,
It's
but
been
at some
insane.
point, they do need to actually start losing some more games.
They
And the
do.
Chiefs can help a couple of those teams out doing that.
Yep. It's gonna be it's gonna be stressful, and it's gonna come down to the wire. There's no resting
Yeah.
starters for the Chiefs this year. They're gonna play all 17 games. We'll hope it's enough, and then we'll hope that they've got enough left in the tank after scrapping and clawing for 6 weeks to get in there, to see what they can do once they get in there.
Let's talk about one of the teams that the Chiefs played. They had a big test on their remaining schedule. I think you could credibly argue that this game they just played yesterday against the Colts, it was at home, but I think you could credibly argue that this is the hardest game. This was the hardest game remaining on their schedule. And, this sort of dovetails. This will be a nice transition from what we just talked about with the schedule. You know, because the AFC is so competitive this year, and because so many of these teams still have to play each other and have to play the Chiefs, some of them, like all of these teams have a chance by what they do in the regular season to impact what's going to happen in the playoffs. And
Mhm.
for every team in the AFC that's watched the Chiefs be the king of this conference every year in the Patrick Mahomes era, hosting the AFC Championship game every year but one, and the one year that they didn't host, they went to Baltimore and won it anyway. All of these AFC teams that are playing the Chiefs have a chance by beating the Chiefs to ensure that they don't play the Chiefs in January or
Yes.
February. And
Yes.
so you have an opportunity, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, to come to Arrowhead and to not mathematically eliminate the Chiefs, but
Pretty
let's face
close.
it, pretty close. And with the Chiefs' remaining schedule being as difficult as it is, I mean, if the Colts hadn't mathematically eliminated us, they would have just set it up for the Texans to do it in 2 weeks, or
Yes.
the Chargers in 3 weeks, or the
Yes.
Broncos in 5 weeks.
Yes.
Like there just were so many potential pitfalls here. And boy, I just want to talk. We're not going to do the Chief system. We wanted to keep this a little bit more informal. We wanted to keep this a little bit, a little bit more chill, a little bit loosier goosier until we get to a point where we're a little bit more comfortable doing our normal routine again. So let's be upfront with the listeners about how we experienced this game. Now, I watched this game as normal, but I got a text from you on Saturday and then again on Sunday. Just kind of walk me through your approach to the game on Sunday.
So, all right, let me set some stuff up first.
Sure. Yeah, of
Number
course.
one, I diehard fan my whole life. I have moved heaven and earth to watch this team play football. I
Yeah,
am
of
I
course.
am not one
You,
of those
we
people.
literally moved a substantial portion of your bank account to go watch them play in New
Jesus
Orleans
Christ.
earlier
Thanks
this
for
year.
that. Thanks. I am not someone that ever finds myself being like, shoot, I'm traveling during the game. Not to put you, I mean, you're as
No, I
big of
do.
a
Yeah,
fan as
no,
I
I,
am.
I do that all
Like
the
I'm
time.
not trying to
Sure.
dick measure here. I'm just saying that there are plenty of fans that love the team as much as I do that don't push off everything in order to watch the team. I
Sure.
also
Sure.
don't have a ton of responsibilities and can kind of make it work pretty easily and all that stuff. So I have never experienced I, I can't remember the last time that the Chiefs were playing football, and at that moment, I was not watching the Chiefs. I just can't
Hmm.
remember it. It's probably happened for some random reason or another, but I don't know what it is. So last week, when things were rough during the bye, I was kind of no, sorry, after the bye, after the Broncos, of course.
Sure. Yeah,
I
of
was
course.
because like during the Broncos game, I was like, this sucks. I hate this. I hate watching this team.
Yeah.
They
Same. Same.
drive me nuts. I'm
Yeah.
so mad.
1000%.
Blah blah blah. And so as the week was kind of going on, I was sitting there like, man, I just need to not do that to my blood pressure and my heart
Yeah.
and all that
Sure.
stuff. Like I need to just not do that. So yes, I made the decision to be, even though I was totally available to go completely dark during the
Uh-huh.
Chiefs game
Yeah. Sure.
and not only turn my phone onto airplane mode, which meant no Twitter and no all the other stuff, there's no text messaging, but not watch the game. And so noon came around, it was 11:55 and I kind of plugged my nose and went underwater and put my phone on airplane mode. And then I actually have a contemporaneous journal that I kept during this time
Incredible.
because I couldn't just not think about the Chiefs, of
Sure.
course.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read a little bit of what I wrote. Okay.
Okay.
I sent you first. First, though, I did send you a text. Let me just scroll back to it real quick. And I said, well, I'm going to do something completely unprecedented. This was 10 o'clock Sunday morning. I'm going to do something completely unprecedented and skip the entire noon slate of that means the whole
Uh-huh.
NFL
Sure.
schedule,
Yeah.
not just the
Yeah.
Chiefs. And I love watching other teams, even when the Chiefs aren't
Yeah,
playing.
of
I love the
course.
noon
Red
slate.
zone. Yeah.
I said, please respect my privacy during this difficult time. And you said, Godspeed. I'm gonna watch, but have a quick hook. It's gonna get ugly. So we were not feeling great about the game. And then I went under. I said, I'm gonna take my phone, or I'm put my phone in airplane mode, and this is my journal to myself. I'm just gonna read it for a second. I put my phone in airplane mode at 11:58. I really hope they win a fun game and I don't have to do this again, but I think I'm just going to keep this up until they win without me. So, spoiler alert, didn't have to keep it up. The biggest risk, which doesn't feel very likely, is that I miss some all-time play or performance, but I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
I don't think I did. I think
No, you
we'll
didn't.
talk about it, but
You
there was
didn't.
no 12:15. So this is 15 minutes in. I wonder how the game started. Did we win the toss again? Did Jonathan Taylor lead an easy 70-yard Colts touchdown? Did we go 3-and-out? So many possibilities. 12:40. Watched an episode of Detroiters, which is a very funny show with Tim Robinson that I really like, and barely thought about the game during the episode. It just ended and it's 12:40. I wonder if we're up or down. I don't know if I'm more worried about our offense or defense. Are we moving the ball? Are we stopping them? Feels like we have not gotten many takeaways lately. I wonder if there's been an early one. Special teams have also been terrible, so it would be kind of crazy if we had a long kick or punt return in this one. Gonna watch an episode of Taskmaster now. Those are 47 minutes long. So then I watch this British game show called Taskmaster. It's 1 o'clock. I'm in the middle of Taskmaster, wondering if it's a standard Chiefs frustrating. If it's, I'm wondering if it's standard Chiefs frustrating, new 2025 Chiefs frustrating, or somehow going very well. We're probably halfway through the second quarter, so I'm wondering where we are in the game. This is sad. This is like you can tell this is a broken, hurt man. 1:30 p.m. Done watching Taskmaster. Should be just about halftime. I'm tempted to take the phone out of airplane mode long enough to text Austin and ask him to rate the first half out of 10. I'm a little worried that I'll get incoming texts from my brother or others about the game, but I think I'll risk it. I just have to know. And that's the last time I journaled. I then reached into my phone, turned it off airplane mode, and said, okay, I'm taking my phone off airplane mode just long enough to ask you to please rate the first half out of 10 and to not give me any other information about the game. I don't even want to know the score, just a vibes rating. And you said
2. I said 2. You said no.
No.
And I said the vibes are way worse than the actual score, as has been the case all year. You said JFC. I said it's bad. You made a good decision. I'll update you when it's over. So to recap, when you were wondering what happened on the first drive of the game, what happened is the Chiefs defense got a stop. And then on the second play from scrimmage, the Chiefs ran an RPO, and the Colts said, we know you never throw when you run RPOs. They never run. Exactly. You always throw. You never run. And they just, Laiuti Latu stepped out and picked Pat, and the Chiefs, or excuse me, the Colts, got an easy touchdown to go up 7-0.
They knew that we would choose not to run.
They knew that we would choose not to run, as we always do. And so then, of course, the Chiefs had a long drive, couldn't punch it in, kicked a field goal, down 7-3. Colts march down the field, score another touchdown. It's 14-3. Chiefs answer with another long drive that they can't convert for a touchdown. They kick a field goal. They get another field goal right before half with another stop. So it's 14-9. It's a 5-point game. But the way that we got there was so bad. I mean, to be honest with you, really just, and you probably haven't even seen the pick.
It just was okay. Tipped up in the air.
It was like everybody was, because we got a stop on the first drive. And this is a good Colts defense. I, through the morning, had been retweeting Warren Sharp. I think somebody with The Athletic also posted this, but everybody was just saying, like, the Colts are the best team in the NFL off play action. The Chiefs are the worst team in the NFL defending off play action.
Seems like a bad combo.
It seemed like a terrible combo. And so when we got a stop on the first drive, it was like, this is amazing. Maybe this will go great. Maybe it's going to go great. And then the interception, 2 plays in, a yard out of the end zone, which, by the way, they were only there because Dave Tobe and his unit committed another holding penalty. They would commit 3 in this game.
What is their fucking problem?
I know that they committed 3 because I tweeted after the first one a gif of Donald Trump doing the point, and I said Donald Trump watching Dave Tobe's unit commit yet another holding penalty, and I retweeted that every time they committed a holding penalty. So I know they had 3 holding penalties in this game. I actually think that I'm going to retweet it every time for the rest of the year. I have it bookmarked now. I'm just going to get it back out every single time.
How can you hold on a fair catch?
Who
are you holding?
Yeah, brother. I couldn't tell you.
I don't. And first, what is Remigio doing fair catching at the 8? Just let that shit go.
What is Remigio doing returning punts? I mean, like, he's not fast, and he's not explosive, and he can't make good decisions. I mean, like, what would you say he does here? And you could ask the same question to Dave Tobe. So all that to say that it's a 5-point game at halftime, and the Chiefs are getting the ball back after half. So it could be, like I was thinking when I sent you the 2.
Yeah,
I was thinking he doesn't know what the score is. I said the vibes are worse than the score. I was thinking when you went dark again, well, like, they could just go out, march down the field, and score a touchdown right out of half. And the vibes are going to be, they're not going to be a 10, but they're going to be like at least a 6.5, 7, depending on how good the touchdown is, maybe as high as an 8.
I'm wondering
the Chiefs would be up.
I'm wondering if part of your vibes were because they kicked 2 short field goals, one
Yep,
from the 10,
that's
one
part
from
of
the
it.
4.
That's part of it for sure.
The Kelsey play, which I've now seen,
Oh my God.
that was
Yes.
called back for a phantom face mask.
Yes,
You know,
because of
the
course
refs
our right
were
tackle is he gets no benefit of the doubt. And
no.
he did
Yes.
touch his helmet, but
Yes.
he didn't grab the helmet. It was
Yep.
not technically a face mask. What was frustrating about that, of course, too, is that New York could have reviewed that.
Yep.
And they
Could have.
apparently either reviewed it and decided there's no problem with this or didn't review it, either of which obviously would have been very frustrating. But like the Chiefs bottled up Jonathan Taylor in the first half. They did some okay things in the first half and they moved the ball. They moved the ball. So when you were sitting there journaling, wondering if we were moving the ball, we were moving the ball, but
Uh-huh.
we weren't punching it into the end zone and we had a horrible turnover. I mean, like the good news is after the Chiefs ran that RPO on the second play of the game and it was a pick, they then but this was I'm now reliving my vibes and why
Yeah.
part of the reason I gave you a 2 was like then the very next drive, the second drive of the game, they didn't run any RPOs, they ran under center, they went under center a bunch, they pounded the rock and they just marched down the field. Now they didn't punch it in for a touchdown, but they did
That
and
was
it
the
was called
Kelsey.
back.
Yeah.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
did. They scored a touchdown, it gets called back. But like that was an immaculate drive and it was like why couldn't you just have done that on the first drive instead of doing
Mm-hmm.
something that,
Messing
Lou
around.
Anarumo is not an idiot. Pat obviously was talking about how he's not set in his ways. This week he was throwing out praise
Yeah.
for Big Lou. Why couldn't you have just done that on the first drive? Why couldn't you have just used the good offense on the first drive? So it was a very frustrating first half, notwithstanding the fact that the score was close and the Chiefs had coming right out of half a chance to go up in this game. Now, uh, the next text that I sent you in this exchange, which will be informative, is you said, okay, thanks. Going back under airplane mode is my only savior right now. I sent you a text 29 minutes later. So that would have been, like on the Chiefs' first drive, I think, of the second half. It may have been their third drive or second drive of the second half, but they went 3-and-out immediately as soon as they come out with a chance to go ahead with the touchdown and they do not gain a single yard. I mean, it went, or they got 7 yards on a pass to Kareem Hunt on 3rd and 10. A little dump
Mhm.
off to Kareem. It was never going to work. And then they punt. They give up a field goal, so now they're down 17-9. And they get a first down, but then you got another drive where you're punting. And so like we're midway through the third quarter. It still is only an 8-point game, but like the Chiefs offense has not done anything in the second half. They're already down 8. The Colts have the ball. And so I'm texting you and I'm saying like I'm turning the game off, get your update somewhere else. I literally said I turned it off with us, or I turned it off 2 drives into the third. So you're gonna have to get your info from someone else, I'm afraid.
Mhm. Yep.
This was at 1 o'clock Colorado time, so this would have been 2 o'clock Arrowhead time. Okay, so 20 minutes later, I texted you again to say I turned it back on with us driving down 20-9, start of the fourth quarter, and we fumbled it away at the 15. Team fucking sucks. You did well not to watch. So we have talked about this before on the show. Like,
Yeah.
it is not totally unusual for us to turn the game off for periods. And usually one of us is still watching the game. So
Yes.
usually
Yes.
usually
Correct.
whichever one of us is still
Sometimes
watching the
both.
game sometimes both will prompt the other to kind of tune back in when
Uh-huh.
it's necessary. I didn't have that luxury because
No.
you were completely dark. So
Yeah.
I turned it off, but of course I had to.
You're not just going to turn it off and never think about it.
Exactly. So I was checking it occasionally. And so, the Chiefs down 20-9 at the start of the fourth quarter, driving down in the red zone. And then Kareem Hunt loses a fumble. And I turned the game off again. And I did not intend to turn it back on. Like
Right.
At that point,
because they had lost the game.
I was convinced the game was lost.
And the season was
over.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to watch. I was literally thinking about how I now did not have to watch the game on Thanksgiving because
right.
who cares? The season is over, right?
Look, I want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
People that are listening to this that are judging
I'm
us.
glad you're saying this because I wanted to say this too.
I mean, of course you do. Look, you can't be in the position that we're in without loving this team to death. You cannot
That's why
rage
it
quit.
hurts.
Yes, you cannot rage quit sports if you don't care about the team. You just can't. And the reason that we turn it off is because we are obsessed with the Kansas City Chiefs. It
And
is
it is
not
extremely painful to
it,
watch the
it
Chiefs
is
play
not
badly.
something that I wish anyone to go through, to be that invested in this team and to watch it slip away. And, it's not like when we turn it off, they can't win the game anymore. It's not like we're
Right, right.
negatively affecting anything. It's just for our own mentals and our own, sometimes we also have a little bit of, I'm not going to say um, jinx power. Some people believe in that more than others, but you do kind of mentally like need to change something
Hmm.
because what's
Sure.
the worst that could happen? I mean, like it's already the worst that could happen, so you might as so anyway. That's just my little intro. I mean, insert here to just say like, don't be listening to this show and think that because these two guys can't watch the game that means that you care about the team more than we do. It actually means that you care about the team less than
It means you care about the team less than we do, and or that you have better emotional regulation than we do,
That's what I
which
should have
is
said.
fine. It could be a little a column A, a little column B. It could be both. But the fact of the matter is, I was upset. I knew that if I continued to watch the game, that I was going to be upset. You knew that if you watched the game at all, you were going to be
Yes.
upset.
Hell, man,
So
I was journaling for 3 hours. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's not someone that
yeah,
doesn't care. That's
right,
someone that knows what's
right.
happening and needs to remove himself from the situation. Anyways.
So when did you actually? So I will say my next text to you. I
Yeah.
said I'm turning the game off. I did turn the game off for a brief period of time, and then I tuned back in. My dad was texting me this whole time and was basically like, maybe we'll get it turned around. Team kind of sucks. They're not getting any breaks, and I'm like, bro, team's
No.
bad. I'm not gonna watch this anymore. So I texted you 37 minutes later after I said we fumbled it away down 20-9 at the start of the fourth. Team fucking sucks. And then I texted you, if you get this, dot 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 dot, it ain't over. Now I knew at 1:57 my time, 2:57 your time, that you're close to breaking
Thinking
your
about the end of the game.
silence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So I knew NFL games are 3 hours. I kind of figured if both teams kept it on the ground, it might already be over. Like
Sure, sure, it could
like
have been a
there,
fast game. Yep.
it's two teams that like to possess the ball, and it's a situation where there's no chance. I mean, there's no. It's not impossible for this game to have already ended. So
Right,
I
right.
had an alarm set on my phone for 3 o'clock, 3 hours later, and I'm getting antsy at this point. I had checked in with you and you just said it was a two, and I left it
Yeah,
at that. And
yeah,
I didn't
sure.
check a score,
It's
and I
funny.
didn't know if it was 35-0 Colts. I didn't know what you did say it was not as bad as
Yeah, I mean,
the
well, and
vibes
it
are
was
worse than
it
the
was a
score, is what
two.
you
It was
said.
a two. I
Yeah, yeah.
I would have given you.
Yeah,
I would have
zero if it
been
was
happy to give
35.
you
Yeah.
something less than
Yes.
zero.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I.
Yeah. But I knew that at halftime it wasn't going well. If it was at least halfway going well, you would have been it would so
Sure. Yeah.
but so I'm antsy. I need to get back on the internet, honestly. I'm a
Sure. Of
device
course.
addicted
Yeah. Right.
human. I need
Of
to turn
course.
my phone off airplane mode. So
Yeah.
right when 3 o'clock hits, I get that dopamine rush of connecting to the world again. And I immediately turn off airplane mode. And of course, texts come flooding in from a couple different people that are watching the game, including the last couple from you, which made me laugh. And the one that I saw before I even checked the game, the one that I saw said it ain't over. And I was like, okay. And the first play that I saw the Chiefs run was on the uh must have been the touchdown drive. Wait, I'm trying to think. If you had said it ain't over, we had already scored the touchdown. So no, I saw that later in a highlight. It must have been after the 3-and-out. That's right. So I turned it on in the first. There was 5:45 to go in the fourth, and the Colts had just gotten the ball back from a Chiefs 3-and-out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so the
Up
Colts
three
had the
points, 20
ball.
to
They were up
17.
three with 5 minutes left. Chiefs had all their
Mm-hmm.
timeouts. I was kind of like, okay, well, it's a 3-point game. So whatever happened up until this point, at least it's close,
Sure. Yeah.
and
Right.
the Chiefs proceeded to force a 3-and-out. And I was like, well, so the Chiefs are going to get the ball back with 5 minutes left, down three. Like, all right, I tuned in at a great time. So I got to watch the rest of the game, and honestly, for me, the Chiefs looked great.
Sure.
Everything I
Sure.
saw in this was 2 3-and-outs by the defense and two scoring drives by the offense. It wasn't too bad.
No, and really this drive to end the fourth quarter, they again did not punch it in. They had third and goal,
That was
or
pretty frustrating.
they had first and goal from the two, and then lost some yardage and ended up having to settle for a field goal, a 25-yard field goal to tie the
On
game.
a shotgun run from first and goal,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just these
I
shotgun
mean,
runs have got to go.
they
They're
gotta go.
not working.
Especially since Kareem, you you will enjoy watching Kareem Hunt on the
I have
uh
watched the highlights of the game. He
sure.
was a dog.
I mean, I tweeted at one point, I think this was before the fumble, but I said basically there's one person on the field that wants to win for the Chiefs,
It's
and it's
Kareem Hunt.
29. Yeah, and he had some explosives in this game. Yeah, I mean he had some explosives for Kareem, which
Yeah,
are like
6 yards.
15-yard runs. Yeah. He had I think a 15-yard run in this game if memory serves. But anyway, I mean this drive was a thing of beauty. The second and 13 play to Rashee Rice, obviously. I mean, second and 13 backed up to your own three.
Yeah.
Like, I was getting flashbacks to the second play of the game where the Chiefs are, on second down, Pat drifting back into our own end zone, and then he throws a pick. And that would have
Uh-huh.
ended the season, if you
Uh-huh.
get a repeat of that play.
Uh-huh.
Instead, they get this beautiful,
Crosser.
crosser to Rashee hitting him in stride, and he goes for 47 yards. And at that point, I'm thinking like, all right,
At that point,
we're gonna
it's
win
like
this game.
slow down.
Yeah,
Like
right.
it's
Exactly.
it's four
Yeah,
minutes and
we
30
gotta,
seconds and you're
we
at
gotta
midfield down
exactly,
three. I'm like,
exactly.
well, we better make sure we're 3 yards in a cloud of dust at this point.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, and of course, they were. It was a 2 yard Kareem run after that, and then it was an incompletion to Worthy where it was. I mean, he was covered well by Mooney Ward and just kind of one of those things. But then on 3rd and 8, they throw that pass to Noah Gray that I still am
I don't
not
know how.
sure
I don't know how he did
how
it.
they called. I don't know how they called it complete. Not
Sure.
necessarily
Yeah.
I mean, it just didn't look to me like there was any possession at any point during that, but he got knocked out, and that was super scary and sucked. And I hope Noah Gray recovers. But then for the season, 4th and 3,
Yeah.
three
Crazy.
minutes
From the
left,
43, which again,
60 yard field goal.
you've got an option to kick there.
I don't think you do.
They made the right choice. Well, I mean, in the sense that Buckner
Oh,
has
in
hit,
the sense that physically it is possible.
it is physically
Yeah,
possible,
you're right.
and that would technically tie the game. Now, obviously, you're right. Strategically, it's a bad choice, both because it's a low percentage field goal and because
You give
even
them
if you
three
make it,
minutes,
you're
even
giving
if you
them
make
three
it,
minutes in a tie game.
to get
Exactly.
to get into field goal range to beat
Yeah,
you. I mean, it was,
exactly.
but you
They
still
made
have
the
to
right call.
you have to make a 4th and 3.
And
And
Rashee Rice had to go up and get it.
I don't know. I mean, Pat said, it was a bad throw. He was trying to layer it over a defender and stuff, but I don't know how Rishi caught that.
I
It
don't either.
was
I don't either.
high, and he kind of not quite one-handed it, but like corralled most of it with one hand, and then he goes streaking for 19 yards and pulls up limp and is hurt, and you're
Right.
like, well,
Right.
Jesus Christ, now
Yeah.
they're going to go try and win the game without Rashee Rice, and then again, the Chiefs had great clock management here. I do feel that despite all their other struggles and all their other things that they've been bad at, they do kind of understand the ebb and flow of a game and when to push the pedal and when to pull back. They've always been really good at that. And so this was another 2 yard run, and then that was at 2:36, which is a great time for a run because you let it go
Incredible.
all
It
the way down to
was
the
it
two
was
minute
great
warning.
clock
Just
management,
just
honestly.
really really good. And then on 2nd and 8, Juju just steps in. He's your Timu Rice, and takes a crosser, goes 8 yards, picks up a really good first down there. And now you're talking about, okay, now we just need to punch it in with no time left, right? Like that's kind of the strategy.
Yep.
And they just they couldn't quite do it. A 3 yard run and then a 6 yard pass gets you just short at 3rd and 1 at the 5. And what you really want to do here with a minute 10 left is to not get a touchdown. Well,
Right. Convert
I
to first
guess
down. Right.
in hindsight, maybe should have probably
Yeah.
gotten a
Yeah.
touchdown, but
Sure. Right.
you want to make sure that you get the first down and go short of the goal line so that you can run it all down and then get the touchdown as a walk off. That's the ideal. But they get up to the 2, and then it's the shotgun run and then incomplete. And then on 3rd and goal from the 3, I just don't
Yeah.
know. what happened there. I don't
Lou
really know.
Anarumo happened, man.
Lou
I
Anarumo
mean,
happened. Yes, we've seen it happen. Literally, they were in this exact position
they were,
against the
they were,
Bengals
they were,
several times, and it
they
never
were.
worked. It never worked. They never got in against the Bengals, and they never got in here and picked up a sack. And this game's going overtime.
It's crazy. We don't have to go through the whole overtime period, but
Wasn't
obviously
that much of it.
well, not much of it. But what obviously the big story is that the Colts didn't get us first down in the second half or
Yes,
overtime of this
fourth
game, which was
quarter
great.
or overtime. They
Yeah,
did
fourth
have
quarter
third
overtime.
quarter.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, the fourth quarter overtime in this game. I mean, the what had been statistically the best offense in the NFL this year.
and the
Uh,
hardest offense to force three and outs. They only had
exactly.
13 3 and outs all year, and they ended this game
And
with four of them.
four straight, which is crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't say enough about the defense, how they stepped up. Like the Chiefs, and the Chiefs had to convert. They had to convert a 3rd and 7 in overtime. That ended up being the
that
deep bomb to Xavier Worthy for
was a big
31
play.
yards.
I don't know what
Huge
they would have done
play.
there.
You know, there was a lot of clutch on both sides of the ball packed into the fourth quarter and overtime of this game. And I guess what remains to be seen is whether this was the game that gets the Chiefs mojo back, right? Like they finally win a one-score game for the first time this year. If you look at the yardage totals, they obviously dominated this game.
Dominate.
33 first downs to 10 for the Colts. The Chiefs almost doubled them up in yardage. The turnovers and the red zone inefficiency made this game look a lot closer than the yardage at the time of possession, or the success rate of the first downs would suggest that this game should have been close. But like maybe that's the kind of win that you need to have in order to string off 6 straight wins and guarantee yourself a playoff
Sure.
spot.
Yeah. I mean, they had
Maybe,
their first 100-yard rusher in a year. They had their first 100-yard receiver of the season.
which is crazy in the
Yeah,
same
which
game.
it's all crazy. Pat threw for 350. Statistically, if you look back on this, this is one of those where like, did we get beat as bad that
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like this was an ass kicking by the Chiefs. The big difference was a turnover at their own 4 and a turnover at the other 15.
Right.
Those two turnovers were deep in both, territories. And I mean, that's the type of stuff that they haven't been able to overcome this year, that they've been making those disastrous mistakes, which again is still a problem. I mean, those are still. I know it was their first fumble loss of the year and all that stuff, but like these are the execution issues that they've been talking about. But the defense in this case, the other games when the offense screwed up, the defense just tag teamed and screwed up themselves. I mean, the Jags
Right.
is a perfect example of like the defense. If they had played like this and picked up the offense, the Chiefs could have overcome the Jags game and those mistakes if the defense was worth a shit in that game, and they really weren't. And now this time, they matched up against a. I know we've given Daniel Jones some crap, and everybody has, and all that stuff. But like you said, this is a statistically damn near dominant offense that the Colts had, and the Chiefs just in the second half just flat out refused to let them do anything. I know a lot of people were giving Chris Jones flowers for that, and there's a great breakdown by Seth Kaiser about that, and just a lot of stuff that he was doing right energy wise, and in the trenches. Mina Kimes said that's some of the best she's ever seen him play. He was awesome.
It was a I don't want to say it was a fun game, but it was a game that the Chiefs played and won, and
Yeah, it was.
we, in various forms, endured, and our listeners endured. We had, I know, a few listeners that were at the game. Obviously, our friend Randy Gisarelli was at the game.
Yep.
I tweeted out "Oh boy, I'm excited to watch my favorite team play. I'm going to kill
The meme.
myself. Oh, nice, we won" for the first time this year, because
Yep.
this is the first time that the Chiefs won, which
A
is an
close
important
game.
part of the meme, as I always point out to the
Mm-hmm.
haters that don't think we deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important part of the meme, and this is the first one-score win of the year. It's the first time that was wheeled out, and it was about as memey a performance from the Chiefs as you could
Boy,
possibly have.
no joke.
So,
Do you want to end this episode with a little game instead of our normal?
yeah,
We
sure.
have normally have a little, we wrap up the game and then that's kind of or a preview or whatever. But I want to,
I mean, Chiefs to Cowboys,
yeah,
Chiefs,
fuck the
Chiefs to Cowboys.
Cowboys. You know how it goes.
Win, win or go home again.
So when this game ended 23-20 overtime, something in my little lizard brain just kind of tickled at me. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the first 23-20 overtime Chiefs win that they've had in the Mahomes era. I'm like, okay, let me go see. And I did find another game where the Chiefs were down 11 points. They scored a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. They ended up winning in overtime on a field goal, and it turned out that that was the first career Justin Herbert game that
Sure. Yeah. Tyrod
famously,
Taylor got stabbed in the lung.
yeah, got stabbed in the lung by the team doctor, and they had to shove the rookie in to go, play the Chiefs. And they, he for his part, Herbert threw for 300 yards and was good, was fine. But they had the deep pass to Tyreek Hill, blah blah blah. So that got me thinking. That line of thinking about other scores that have been the same as this score. And then I was like, there are some scores in Chiefs history, in Mahomes history specifically, that are extremely memorable just by the number, just by telling you what the final score was. And I can say the winning and losing numbers, and you could say, oh, that was that
Okay.
game.
Yep.
So we're just going to do a quick little quiz where I'm going to give you 10 games in the Mahomes era, 10 wins, and I'm just going to tell you the score, and you're going to tell me what the game was.
Okay.
Okay,
I love
ready?
it.
All right, we're going to start out with 51-31.
51-31, of course, is the great comeback over the Texans in the divisional round, which you and I attended.
Yes.
So 51-31, that was obviously 24-0.
Ugh.
And the Chiefs regained the lead before halftime and win the game by 20.
Unbelievable. I mean, just one of the most unbelievable games of all time. Now
That was pretty iconic.
it is pretty
We're
iconic.
ranking them at the end.
I have kind of listed them
You've
when
already
I
power
thought of
ranked them.
them.
Yeah.
So this is going to probably end up being the ranking. So
Okay.
we'll just go through them. I'll just
This is
go
the
from
most. This is the
the
most.
most to the hardest, the easiest
Okay.
to the hardest. That's how we're going to do it.
That
So
is
number
a pretty
2,
iconic one.
31-20.
31-20. Oh, well, that would be Super Bowl live, of course.
Yes, of course.
I always have to think, obviously, tacking on the late touchdown at the end.
Yeah.
That to me is a 24-20 game. And
Sure.
then,
Sure.
of course, Damian Williams running to immortality. It's great for him, by the way. We've talked about Dame nostalgically a couple of times this season. But yeah,
Correct.
that's I'm glad that he scored that touchdown and he didn't go down, even though, whatever.
Yeah, I was talking about Dame today because of 100-yard rushers in the Mahomes era.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you know how many 100-yard games by a running back there have been in Mahomes
I
era?
saw your tweet, and I remember it's
Sure.
a laughably small number, but I can't
16th.
remember the. Yes.
This was Kareem today was the 16th.
And how many games
it
has
is
Pat played?
A lot. 130
something.
because he just lost his 30. Oh, like 150. Yeah.
Yeah.
So about 10% of the time he gets a back.
Sure.
Derrick Henry in the Mahomes era has done it 52 times, by the way.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Sounds about
10
right.
to 52.
But I was talking about Dame because it was 4 each by Clyde, Dame, Kareem, and must have been who would have been the fourth?
Clyde McKinnon?
Would he have had 100-yard rushing games?
Yeah, no, probably not.
Can't believe I can't remember who that would be. So Dame took over for Kareem, and then Clyde took over for Dame, and then who would have been between Clyde? Pacheco, of course. It's Isaiah Pacheco, of course. Yeah, good call. Anyway, number three in the game, 25-22.
25-22, of course, the most recent Super Bowl over the most recent Super Bowl victory.
Yeah.
San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 58.
58, that's right. 25-22 in overtime. Very weird score.
Yep. Yeah, it is a weird score.
42-36.
That's 13 seconds.
Yep, exactly. Forever. Now we're gonna get a little bit, I think, less iconic, a little harder.
Those are all
you'll burned in your brain forever.
In contention for the best and most iconic scores.
38-35.
Yep, sure. That's 57 over the Eagles.
Right. 31-0.
31-0. Well, that would be our stunning victory over the Raiders in week 7 this year.
The only shutout.
I know it's week 7 because Rasheed was out for 6 games and then he came back in week 7 and
we were back. We were back.
We were back.
Okay. How about 38-28? That's
38
for the first one that I would say I wouldn't have immediately remembered.
38-28. That's an interesting score. So the first place that my mind went when I heard 38 was the game we played in Tampa after the Super Bowl when Tom Brady was still in.
Yeah, they scored a lot
I,
that game.
they scored a lot that game. I don't think that was the score.
It was not.
But that was the first place that my brain went. So I'm trying to
Think about also like what this game might
28.
represent. It's an
Uh-huh.
important
Yeah,
game.
right. Yeah, 38-28.
I'll start giving you some hints. It's on the
Would it have been the AFC Championship game over the Bills?
So it would not. That was 30 or I'm actually not going to
That
say
was
that
also
because
okay.
I'm going to say it later. I didn't even realize that.
Okay.
It's very close to that.
Boom.
It's 4 points off.
Okay.
This was a road game and it was early. I'll give you those two.
A road game early. A road game early in Mahomes' career.
Yeah, this is just the scope of this is all Mahomes.
Was this the Steelers? No, that was 42.
That was a weird 42 like 30. Yeah,
or
yes,
something like
you're
that.
right. 37. I think is right.
38-28. Is that his first start as in 2018?
That is correct.
Chargers?
Yes.
Nice.
They won that game by double digits. Tyreek Hill had a punt return and of course his first
38-28.
first passing touchdown. It's a weird one for sure. And then how about 28-10? What do you think about that?
28-10. The game against the Raiders where we scored all 28 in the second quarter.
That is correct. Yes.
Nice.
All 28 in the second quarter. Just an absolute bombs away. I mean, it was
DeMarcus Robinson, McCole Hardman.
I spoiled this one, but 38-24.
That's the AFC Championship
That's
game.
the AFC Championship game at home.
When I heard
against the Bills.
38, I was thinking.
Yes, you nailed that. And that was, I mean, again, only 4 points off the other one, so very similar.
Sure.
The last one I have listed is 35-3. Little bit of a
35-3.
A reach here that you would remember that score, but it was
3. Well,
a big deal.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of 35-3 is also a Raiders score. Like that almost has to be over the Raiders.
That's correct.
Okay, nice. Now it's hard to pick.
Yeah, I know.
Which time
they've kicked the shit out of the Raiders a lot.
31-0, 35-3.
I'll tell you that this
40
game
to
is
something.
Yes,
a lot to a little in 20. In 2022 or 2023, even when we were bad.
I'll tell you that this game represents it's a milestone game of sorts.
Oh, it's the 50 touchdown game.
Yeah, and 5,000 yards on the same play.
Last game of the regular season, which we have some confetti from since
we do.
On
New Year's Eve 2018, they beat the Raiders 35-3 and a DeMarcus Robinson pass both put Pat past the 5,000-yard mark and was the 50th touchdown of the season.
Those were great times. And you know what? There may still be good times ahead. We're going to see on Thanksgiving. Hopefully the Chiefs won't ruin another holiday for us. But hey, if they do, then they're not going to ruin your Christmas because the season will be over. And it's always sunny in Chiefs Kingdom.